You know those massage chairs, people lay in them and like they vibrate your body really quickly? Does that count as burning calories?
I don't think so.
In this episode, we're joined again by Dr. Jon Go, and today's episode is all about weight loss. Obesity is a huge and growing problem, especially here in the United States. We talk about practical strategies in nutrition and in fitness to lose weight faster and more effectively, and how to have a more health-oriented mindset towards weight in general. So calm your mood, clear your mind, and enjoy the show.
I like to give up something for Lent every year. And this year, it has been alcohol, and we're nearing the end of the journey now. And it's been, and you know, I decided to also limit my carbohydrate intake and try to lose some weight, because over the last 5-6 months or so, I put on like 10-15 pounds, and I just thought it was time to get a little healthier and get my body right again, especially since, you know, summer's coming up. Coachella might be coming up.
For all of us Lent illiterate folk, can you quickly explain like what are the conditions and
Yeah, so I mean,
the rules around it?
so Lent itself is a season in the Christian and Catholic community where you kind of try to better yourself as a person and try to get closer to your faith. And in doing so, and in the process of doing so, a lot of people give up something in their life. So a common one that all Catholics do is giving up like meat on Fridays, and fasting and almsgiving are also typical things. But for me, I just found that alcohol wasn't really, my relationship with alcohol wasn't really positively contributing to my life as much as or at all really. So I decided to give it up for Lent.
Right. And how long is Lent?
Lent is 40 days. 40 days, not including Sundays, I found out. Yeah.
Not including Sundays?
Not including
So it's
Sundays.
like 45 days?
Yeah, so it's like ends up being like a little bit like 6 weeks or so. A little bit more than 6 weeks, yeah.
Did you just try to give up alcohol too recently?
Not for Lent. I did dry January, which
How
is
did that go? Oh, dry January.
dry January. So it's only 30 days, including Sundays.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
how did it go for you guys? Was it hard? Easy?
You know, I feel great. I really do. I think that it sucks to not have the option to like go out to like breweries and stuff, you know, like go out and hang out with friends just for drinks. But in those cases, I've just been getting like seltzer waters or like kombuchas or whatever. So I think I'm definitely feeling healthier. My sleep is better. Actually, we could probably throw the stats on, but like my Fitbit tracks my HRV, my resting heart rate, and all that stuff. And I've been looking at the trends, and my resting heart rate when I was drinking was like 65 beats per minute, and now it's like 53.
Whoa.
My HRV, and HRV is like the heart rate variability. It's like if you look at the QRS complexes on the EKG, it's like not just the difference between them, but like the difference in like plus minus of it, you know? And it's thought that greater heart rate variability correlates with greater parasympathetic tone, and thus just a healthier sort of baseline at your, you know.
Cool.
So lower heart rate variability for you, it's all respective. So lower heart rate variability for you would be a signal of high stress, overtraining,
Right.
Stuff like that. So when I was drinking, my heart rate variability was like 20s, 30s, but now it's like consistently in the 80s to 100s.
Wow.
So it's like really significant. Yeah.
That's crazy that you see that kind of result after not even 6 weeks.
Yeah. It was honestly,
that's impressive.
looking at the trends, it was like the first week
Pretty immediate.
Yeah.
Amazing. And it doesn't, I mean, obviously it also helps that you are a pretty active person.
Yeah.
I know that you run marathons or you run long distance.
I ran my first marathon last year, the LA Marathon.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember from medical training that people who run long distance have some of like the lowest resting heart rates of all people. Like so like in the 30s and 40s almost sometimes. So like, their hearts are just so healthy.
When I was running for the LA Marathon, my resting heart rate was like in the 40s.
That's crazy.
Because I was running like the way marathon training works is you run your short runs during the week, like so you run 3 miles, 4 miles, 5 miles a few times a week, and then on the weekend you run like 20 miles. You run like a long run, and even then that was pretty significant too. Looking at my heart rate, HRV data, resting heart rate data, after a long run, And also after the marathon, my HRV dropped and my resting heart rate increased because my body was just not recovered.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy because in the hospital too, I remember like that's like pushing bradycardic territory when you see some people with like resting heart rates that low. It's like, is this a problem? Like,
That's
do
like
we
the
need to
first
do
thing
more
I ask.
tests?
If I see like a really low heart rate, I'll first look at their age because age is a factor, and then I'll look at, are you an athlete? Or, so it's usually the case. But that's crazy.
Yeah.
The thing that I thought was really crazy was looking at your transformation in your pictures.
Oh, thanks, man.
So I started doing that too, and I realized that having something to follow to track your progress is a huge motivating incentive to try to stay on track.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really easy to get discouraged by the scale, looking at the scale. It's for me, especially was discouraging for the first like 4 to 5 weeks of this. And like, so I'm treating this as just a whole weight loss journey, which, I'm making a video of, to follow that also. But my weight hasn't really changed. Like I started at 178. I'm at like 175 right now, but sometimes I fluctuate up to like yesterday I was 181 but I can tell that like in the mirror I look different. I can tell that in my lifts I'm able to lift more, So
Yeah, I kind of agree. I started checking my weight like pretty consistently. Every time before I start my workout, I would check my weight, and that would usually be enough to like motivate me to, dang, I gotta work hard because these numbers are not looking good.
Yeah, I think that works for some people.
Yeah.
But I feel like also like what John's saying, the numbers could discourage you if you don't have the growth mindset of, dang, I need to do better. If people just get demotivated by seeing bad numbers and they're just gonna quit, they're gonna give up.
You have to like realize that the effort you're putting in is going to change something.
Yeah.
And I guess that is the growth mindset.
Yeah. I think I was just telling you this before we started the podcast too. Like one of my goals, like I haven't been able to stay as consistent as I wanted to because I didn't have something to track. And because I don't work out with anybody, it's hard to like have someone push me to see like, oh, we're doing better than last week because I have to remember for myself, what did I do last week? And I sometimes can't even remember like what I had for breakfast. Like how am I supposed to remember what I lifted last week? So having some kind of tracking system definitely would help. Okay.
Well, actually, what is the goal of nutrition in this podcast? Like I would say for me, I'm trying to lose weight. Do you guys have any other significant goals?
I would say the same. I feel as though I've always been on a perpetual cut because of my upbringing. I grew up a little bit overweight or a lot overweight. So I can speak to nutrition from the weight loss and muscle building standpoint.
What do you mean a lot overweight? Do you mind sharing or?
Yeah, of course. So I grew up in a Filipino household where our mainstays of food are white rice and deep fried anything, and midnight snacks.
That's the same for us.
Is it?
A lot of white rice.
Hell yeah. So yeah, I just grew up eating a lot, and food was sort of shoved down my throat. Every time I went to Philippines to visit my family, I would gain 20 pounds. And this was as a like
lot.
I think your metabolism
like
is just
third
really,
grade.
really slow then too, maybe.
This was like 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade. Every time I went to Philippines to visit my family, I'd like come back 15, 20 pounds heavier.
Dang.
And my dad would be super mad. But my mom and them were just like, he's just a growing boy,
Is your dad a fit person?
Relatively so, I think. Okay. Yeah, he's like old now. But he still does his pull-ups and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, he's doing pull-ups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think our dad does that.
Our dad does like what, dancing lessons?
He does a lot of
He's pretty
he does a lot
into
of
it.
building. He
Yeah.
does a lot of
Our dad does a lot of contracting
housework,
yeah.
contract work.
That's really like
So
physically
he does a lot
intense.
of work. He still does a lot of activity.
Right.
To play devil's, not just only to play devil's advocate, but also because I think I guess I would be on the side of I'm trying to gain weight. I had the opposite experiences as you. Like
You're trying to gain muscle, right?
I feel like, I guess muscle.
Because
but
when I say I'm
muscle
trying
is
to lose
heavier.
weight, I'm actually just trying to lose fat. I want to keep all the muscle there. But that's not possible.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the funny thing of,
You have to
I think
lose
it
both
is.
at the same time.
you do have to lose both at the same time. You can't just lose one and not the other. It's just a ratio of what you lose them, right?
I mean, I've gone back and forth on this throughout the years, but I really think that now, if your diet is like on lock and you're lifting heavy, I think you can gain muscle and lose fat. Like, I really think it's possible. I mean, I guess it doesn't make sense from a thermogenic standpoint, like if you're in a deficit, how are you building muscle? But I think that doesn't take into account like environmental inputs, which are that you're stressing your muscles, you're physically tearing your muscles down. Your body has to adapt in some way,
Okay. So leaving the gym and leaving weight training out of this, how would a person start their fitness journey just thinking about nutrition?
There is always an input and an output, and your body is
Very
the result
scientific. Okay.
of that. Yeah. So think about it like a bucket, like there's like water flowing into the bucket and there's water flowing out of the bucket. If you have too much water flowing into the bucket, you're going to overflow. And that overflowing of that water from a caloric standpoint is going to be you storing fat, or muscle if you are lifting really heavy and you're within the right calories.
So the water is the calories.
The water is the calories in that analogy. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's start with calories then.
Okay. So calories in, calories out. Calories in would be the food that you intake, obviously. And calories out would be exercise. It would be the thermic effect of food, which is essentially how much your body... It's basically calories burned just by digesting and processing that food. And lastly, NEAT.
Neat.
Do you want to talk about NEAT?
What was that, like
Exercise
something?
associated thermogenesis.
Okay. That's like fidgeting.
Fidgeting, anything subconscious,
Subconscious.
that's
Okay.
unintentional, that represents itself in physical activity that burns calories.
Okay.
Would you kind of just lump that in with like your basal metabolic rate? If we can kind of lump those together, because you can't really control that. It's just like how your body naturally burns through calories.
Sure. But they have also found that like skinny people, like who just don't gain weight, are just like tend to be more fidgety. And like when they're eating caloric excess, they just fidget a little more and they just want to maintain that weight. I think part of the reason why it's so hard for the body to change, part of the reason why it's so hard for us to affect change in our body is because the body is always wanting to remain the same. It doesn't want to lose weight if that's your goal. It doesn't really want to gain weight if that's your goal, unless you stress it to do so. So that's part of the reason why it's so hard, because our bodies like to stay how they are.
This is a kind of an off-topic, really quick aside, but interesting point. Does NEAT have to be you yourself causing your body to move, or like what if someone is externally moving your body around? Does that count?
That's such an interesting... I think
like,
that,
you know those massage chairs where people lay in them and like they vibrate your body really quickly? Does that count as burning calories, or is that just like...
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I really don't
Does
think
it burn
so.
calories?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like, because that's kind of like fidgeting your body.
But to
Right.
me, I think NEAT is like, when some people sit and they like kind of shake their leg like this?
Yeah,
Like,
but like,
that's
what if?
kind of neat.
But what if a chair is
That's
doing it for you?
subconscious. Yeah, I don't know. I do know that this muscle in your leg, the leg muscles burn a lot of fat. So like if you're constantly bouncing your legs, that could be somewhat significant in burning calories.
Gotcha.
Calories, you can go online, find a calculator, and then you put a whole bunch of information about yourself, and that
Yes.
calculator will tell you how many calories you should be aiming for.
Correct.
And then it can even tell you if you're trying to lose weight, then it'll give you a number, like you should hit this many calories. Or if you're trying to gain weight, then you should hit this many calories.
Right. So there's different ways to sort of get your baseline metabolic rate. Some people use fitness trackers, like I use a Fitbit, but we know that fitness trackers aren't that accurate. Just to illustrate this, I used to wear a Whoop. I used to have a Whoop as well as a Fitbit. And the estimated calories burned by each would sometimes differ by more than 1,000 calories when I was wearing both.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah, huge. Like that's a couple pounds of fat, a week, 1,000. Anyhow, so then the second thing is using an equation. You go online, you get your basal metabolic rate. You have to multiply that by your activity multiplier. And that's a reasonably good estimate. They have a bunch of equations. I think the most accurate is the Harris-Benedict one, but there's a bunch of equations. Or what you can do, probably the most accurate of all, is actually tracking your calories for like a week or two and looking at what you're eating. So if you know that you're not gaining or losing weight, eating this amount of calories that you've been eating, you know that that's about your baseline, you know? But that's a little more involved. It takes some time to do that. Yeah. I think the best way to do it is why not use a combination of both? You know, like I use my Fitbit, but I also use the online calculator, and I go with whichever one is lower, pretty much, because then I know that
your ego, or is that?
No, because then I know that I'm making progress regardless. You know,
take the conservative side of it.
Yeah. So essentially, you find your maintenance calories, and if you want to lose weight, you have to eat in a deficit of that. But there's certain things that you have to keep in mind, like how much can you lose? So first of all, 3,500 calories roughly equates to 1 pound of body fat of weight loss. So if you eat a 500 calorie deficit every day for 1 week, you should theoretically lose 1 pound of body fat. So how much is safe to lose at a time? You know, because if you are 300 pounds and you have a ton of body fat, weight's just going to drop off of you if you start to change your lifestyle. And if you lose more than 2 pounds a week, that's fine, you know? So what I use is basically don't lose more than 1% of your body weight per week. You know, anything more than that's like unhealthy, I think. So, and definitely
you just kind of standardize that across any weight range that you are.
Correct. Okay. Yeah. So the more you weigh, then the more you can lose, you know, but the less you weigh, let's just say you're like 12% body fat and you're already trying to get to like lower than that, then you're going to want to lose less at a time to preserve muscle.
Okay. Just for a reference point, when someone looks really shredded in a photo, what percent body fat would you expect them to be? Just so the audience has an idea.
Yeah, that's tough because all of us store body fat in different areas. So like so someone could be, in general, you start to see your abs at like 15%.
15% body fat.
Right.
Okay.
But
like a Marvel superhero, that's 15%.
Probably lower.
Yeah, probably lower. Like Thor was probably like 12%.
12%.
Yeah. I think Captain America, for the first one, he said he was at like 11 point something.
Gotcha.
Okay, so that's a lot lower than
Chris Evans,
15%.
But obviously it shows, I mean, they were jacked and they were
jacked.
incredibly in shape. So,
but you can find someone who's 15% body fat and not have abs for a couple of reasons. One is they don't have abs underneath there, you know, like they don't work out at all. Or another reason is that they just they could just store all their fat right in their abdominal section, and they could be jacked everywhere else, and like you can see their veins popping out of their arms and everything, but they just so happen to store fat.
Just got a beer belly.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So it'll depend for everyone, but I think for the average person who goes to the gym, you know, probably 15% body fat. Yeah.
Okay. So in a lot of scales nowadays that you can just buy on Amazon or wherever, you can stand on the scale with your socks off and it can give you a rough estimate of what your body fat percentage is.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think it is extremely inaccurate. It fluctuates with your hydration, a whole bunch of things. And for example, during my latest cutting cycle, my body fat percentage on my scale hasn't changed, and so hasn't my weight either. But in the mirror, I look different. So I think there's some utility in it for just initially categorizing yourself as like obese. I really need to lose weight, or like I'm not that overweight, so I think I don't have that much to lose. And I think it gives okay general trends also, you know.
Okay.
So what would be a better way to actually figure out your body fat percentage than not using something so unreliable?
Around like a DEXA scan or something, right?
You actually have to go to some center and get it done.
Or I think the cheaper way to do it is just take progress pics, you know, take progress pics, measurements, you know, measure your arms, measure your waistline, measure your chest.
With like a tape measure.
With a tape measure, yeah.
I've actually never thought about doing that.
Yeah.
It's probably that's the most accurate, I guess, if you're
It's the easiest to do at home. Yeah.
Skin calipers work okay also.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Just little
it's like
calipers.
squeezing
Yeah.
to see.
But you have to get someone who's good at doing the skin calipers or just be consistent with it. I saw this guy one time like at the gym and he was like pretty large, this guy. And like you're supposed to, the way it works is you're supposed
Buff or
no, pretty like obese.
okay.
The way it works is you pinch your fat and then you like, it measures how much like how thick your fat layer is when you pinch it. If you're like really fat, you're not going to be able to pinch all of that. Like you're only going to be able to pinch the superficial or the surface layers of it,
You use like the back of your arm.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going for a calorie deficit if we're trying to trim the fat.
Correct.
So I guess now we should talk about diets, right? Because there's so many different ways that you can limit your calories.
Right.
You can limit, for example, you can do like a low fat diet. You can do a keto diet that eliminates carbs. You can do a intermittent fasting type of diet that basically limits the window in which you can eat.
Right.
There's like so many different strategies to it. I guess we can kind of hit on a bunch of them.
Sure. I think before we hit any of them, I think one thing to keep in mind is you're going to want your protein to be similar on all of them. Try to eat a gram of protein per pound of lean body mass. I do a pound per pound of body mass and sometimes even more because it's easy for me to just count up to 200. So I'll eat 200 grams of protein and then after that, I'm like, okay, I'm good I'm good on my protein.
We're saying that not for losing weight, more so for maintaining your
I think
physique.
for anything. So I think if you just aim, for me, I like to simplify things. So whether I'm cutting, whether I'm maintaining anything, I always aim for a gram of protein per pound of body mass for me. And that'll do a couple things. If you're losing weight and you are eating in a caloric deficit, maintaining your protein will allow you to retain your muscle, keep the muscle that you have, or even build some. If you're gaining weight, you're gonna obviously need protein. So regardless of anything, we're always trying to preserve the amount of muscle mass that we have through lifting and through eating protein.
Right.
Yeah, you got to retain your muscle mass, like not just for an aesthetic standpoint,
For your longevity.
It looks good, but like when you get
For your
older,
longevity.
when you get older, your muscles start to shrink.
You're right.
Yeah, atrophy.
The atrophy just
and that's
due to
that's
old
a lot
age.
of health consequences. So, yeah, protein to keep your muscles
Absolutely.
intact.
And if you're a young viewer right now, your testosterone peaks in your mid to late 20s. So put on as much muscle as you can. I mean, we can still put on muscle, but it's just, it gets harder and harder as you get older, especially to maintain that muscle too. So the official recommendation is like 1 gram per pound of lean body mass, but I just go with a pound per body weight.
It's gonna be a little bit lower than that, but it's
Right.
better to be conservative, like you said.
Right. And, there's people like if you have kidney issues, it's going to be lower, like this and that. But in general, for the healthy person working out, just go for a gram of protein per pound of body mass.
Just like a very crude calculation.
Right.
Like if you're 150-pound dude, then just try to get roughly 150 pounds.
Yeah, 150 grams of protein.
Oh, sorry, 150
So
grams
much
of protein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the beauty of that crude and simple calculation is that if after a couple of weeks you've been doing that and you are seeing results that you don't want to, you can just course correct from there.
Absolutely.
It's like just get started with the
start
consistency
somewhere.
of eating that much.
Right.
And then you can fix it from there. Like once you get the hard part down is 150.
Right.
From
Yeah.
there, the fluctuation of 10 less or more is probably not going to be that difficult. So the hard part is just
Absolutely.
getting the reps in.
Yeah. Yep. And that's again to the point. We were discussing this earlier or in the past, where nutrition labels, they're allowed to be, they're allowed to be plus minus 10% in their accuracy. So. Me, I like bulk buy stuff. Like I just bought 15 bags
Costco.
of Catalina Crunch. What if the
15 bags.
What if the nutrition labels on Catalina Crunch is 10% under in its estimation?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be having a hard time losing weight.
That's pretty good though.
Yeah,
We actually have a bag in the other room. Should we bring it?
I don't know. I don't like them. I don't know what you're just talking about. I don't think they taste good at all.
Dude, after eating Catalina Crunch, I just realized how bad Cinnamon Toast Crunch is.
That's so good. I realized how much better it is.
Health-wise,
It just tastes
like,
too good.
I realized how much better
it tastes. Like crack cocaine, basically.
Dude, Catalina Crunch with ice cream, low calorie ice cream.
Oh yeah, I gotta try that.
Pretty good.
That sounds good.
What was I saying? Oh yeah, but like back to your point, if you're not losing weight, it could be because of a whole bunch of things. If you feel as though you're eating in a deficit, but you're not losing weight, it could be because of inaccurate nutrition labels. It could be because of your own biology, your own physiology. Then you know that you either have to increase the amount of exercise that you do or decrease the amount of food that you eat.
Right.
And to that end, we're talking about weight loss. So how do we lose weight? Well, no getting around it. You have to eat in a caloric deficit. I know that there's proponents of, people say that calories in, calories out is a myth. Calories aren't all created equal. I do agree with that. Yeah. But when you look at it at the end of the day, if we want to simplify things, if you want to lose weight, count calories. And I would say that a good place to start is a 500 calorie deficit. And I've definitely.
This is regardless of what diet you're trying, right? Whether that's keto.
Yeah, it's regardless of your diet.
The overall idea is to get a 500 calorie deficit.
Yes, 500 calorie deficit should yield you a pound of fat loss a week if you're eating sufficient protein and if you are giving your body the prompt to retain muscle, which is lifting.
I think something that a lot of people who are intending to lose weight, they struggle with is they see it more as like a means to an end. Where if you're talking about a caloric deficit, like you're always gonna be hungry. And there's like, it's not like you have to suffer for this for a few weeks and then you can get to like eat normal again. It's like, no, like this is a lifestyle change. Like you're not gonna be able to go back if you want to continue losing weight.
It is,
and that's something that very difficult to get your head, like wrap your head around.
It is.
This is not just like you have to do this for a little bit. This is like, no, this is a new lifestyle that you have to hit.
That's yes, absolutely. Because our decisions, what we do and what we eat, it's not just like one decision and we're done. I find myself every day, it's like walk into the office. Oh, Dr. Go, we brought donuts. Okay, cool. Deanne, we brought donuts. Cool.
They're waiting for us.
It's like, it's a mindset that you have to have. That's why I say like motivation is not enough. Motivation's enough to get you started. But it becomes a mindset where you're just like, this is my persona now. Like I am that person who makes healthy choices. I am that person who is going to go to the gym or is going on a run or a walk, even when I don't feel like it, because that's who I am now. And consistency more than anything will yield results, even if it's by a little every day. Because there were times where I screwed up, where I ate, instead of eating in a deficit, I screwed up and I ate 500 calories over. So instead of eating 500 calories under, I screwed up and ate 500 calories over. And the next day I was like, okay, I could just like run 2 hours and like make up for it. And I would run 2 hours, but you know what happened? I'd just be super freaking hungry. And it would just perpetuate itself, right. So it's always better to have consistency and make small baby steps towards the right goal rather than screwing up and then switching gears and being like, oh, I'll just like starve myself tomorrow. That's what a lot of people do. Like they're like really good with their diet and exercise during the weekend. Let's go ham. We go to the club or go to the bars and drink a lot of calories.
For me, it's Korean barbecue, something like that.
Dude, me too.
On the weekends, and it just negates everything that you did the entire week.
Right. I do remember this one lecture I had in medical school in endocrinology about people who had obesity who were losing weight, and we think about these things like if you do something for long enough, your body reaches what they call homeostasis. Like you reach like a new level of balance. But there was a study that my GI or I think it was hepatologist told us in lecture was that people who have obesity, when they lose weight rapidly, So in the body, there are these two hormones that kind of work together. They're called ghrelin and is it leptin? The other one?
Yeah.
Ghrelin basically makes you feel hungry. Leptin makes you feel satisfied. Right.
Yeah.
And so these people with obesity, when they started losing weight, their ghrelin levels actually stayed elevated. So even when they're at the new baseline of like being at a lower weight, they still felt even hungrier than they did before they started losing weight.
Right.
So like their body was actually just so out of whack. So that's why it's like, I guess the whole point of that study was to show that people who lose weight, it's really, really hard to maintain that new weight loss because they actually just feel hungrier because their body's releasing more ghrelin than it did before.
Yeah.
So it's like it's even more of a struggle.
Right.
If you are overweight and then you get down to a lower weight to maintain that because your body is telling you that it's needing more food.
Dude, that must be why, like The Biggest Loser, they've looked at them like after they lost all the weight, and the majority of them,
Biggest
like
Loser, the show.
the show, yeah, a lot of them have gained it back. Yes, your body will reset itself and adjust itself to as you lose weight, your body's maintenance calories will decrease, and that's more not just from a basal metabolic rate calculated by my weight standpoint, because as you lose weight, then if you run the numbers, your calories burned will be calories to maintain will be less. But it's also a metabolic adaptation thing. So your body, like you said, just gets used to being in a deficit, and your body is like, okay, I'm gonna lower my basal metabolic rate so that I can start retaining and because I don't want to change. Your body doesn't want to change, right? So as you lose weight, you'll also have to decrease your calories.
Right.
That was one thing. But the second thing I wanted to talk about, which you reminded me of, was there is a study where they looked at one group. Group A dieted straight. They had no breaks. So they just maintained a calorie deficit for like 2 or 3 months. And they took note of how much weight they lost. Group B, every 3 weeks, they would tell them to eat maintenance calories. And then they would, after that maintenance week of after that week of maintenance calorie eating, they would go back on a calorie deficit diet. And they looked at the two arms of the study, and what they found was that they lost the same amount of weight, probably because it reset their metabolic levels. But also, they found that Group B, unsurprisingly so, had way better hunger levels, and they were way more likely to stick to this. Because
they were adjusting more slowly.
They're adjusting more slowly, and they just were mentally in a better place also.
Right.
Yeah, and that's also another reason why they say don't just decrease your calories by 1,000 from the get-go, because you want to account for metabolic adaptation. So decrease it by 500 calories or so, and then as you lose weight, continue to decrease it some more, because you don't want your body to adapt like all of a sudden,
Right.
Yeah, you want to maximize your sort of bang for your buck of weight loss.
Yeah, that's kind of a good point you mentioned there. And that's probably, I didn't finish talking about the study that I was mentioning about the ghrelin leptin levels. They did that. It was, I think the follow-up study that I think it was still being conducted while my professor was lecturing us, was that they were trying it again in staggered intervals of like weight loss and then maintenance period in the weight loss and maintenance period, because they were seeing that it was more effective if you do a longer time, what do they call it? Time period?
Yeah.
In studies, they call it something like experimentation pyramid or period, I forget, like that.
Yeah, what you're talking. Yeah.
But basically what you're saying is that if you space it out over a long period of time and let your body adjust to it more slowly, then it's higher likely that you'll stick to it.
Right.
And that's kind of like the same thing about building habits too that we talk about in our channel. It's like if you want to build a habit, it's not like you keep adding new ones every single month. Like you have to make sure that you can actually maintain that new habit that you built before you add on any additional changes to your life.
Definitely. I just think it's funny that we're diving so deep on hunger when, at least in my experience, is that when you're trying to lose weight and you're trying to cut down, like bottom line, try to lose weight means just eating less, right? But I realized that hunger is not the enemy. The enemy, I think, is just wanting to eat for other reasons. Like I was thinking about last time I wanted to snack real bad, and I realized I wasn't even hungry at that time. I was just bored. What do I do to like handle this boredom? Oh, I need to snack on something.
That's interesting.
Right.
That is
I
interesting.
don't really get hungry often, to be honest.
I think
But
that's
always.
I think that's just you.
Yeah, that might be just me.
I'm just starving.
But a lot of people. That means you guys are on a further down the path than I am.
I don't know about
'Cause
that.
I think a lot of people, they just need to figure out what is triggering them wanting to eat.
Right. And I think people mistake like boredom for hunger.
Yeah.
You know, like people, for example, going to the movies.
That is a social cue.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It's habitual to buy like a bag of popcorn.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
that is commercialism.
Mm-hmm.
Society has just made us addicted to food.
Right.
Not because of our hunger, but because of associating dopamine with certain activities.
Right.
Well, also it's like, yeah, you're right. It's an environmental thing for sure.
Yeah.
We're kind of like dogs, you know? Like if you show a dog
Like
food,
Pavlovian. Yeah.
it's gonna eat it no matter if it's full or if it's hungry.
Right.
So if we see food, especially one that smells or looks good, then we're gonna instantly want it, even if we're not
Because we
hungry.
know it's going to taste good.
That's also why, like, when I go home to visit my parents, I love my parents, but their favorite channel is the Food Network. Okay. And like, I
like the Food Network too, though.
dude, but like we have mirror neurons in our brain, right? And they
Yeah.
kind of like simulate what we're seeing and all this stuff. And I just get really hungry. To add to that, my parents have all this processed food. Like they got these biscuits, are like chicken biscuits, but they're not actually biscuits. They're like chicken cracker
Chicken
things.
and a biscuit. That's
Yeah,
what it's called.
yeah, it's so
We
good.
used
We
to
had
eat
those
so
too,
many
right?
of those.
Yeah, we used to have
So
those
good.
too. They're really good, but terrible probably for you.
Yeah.
They're
High
horrible
sodium.
for you.
Yeah.
But that's back to processed foods. You know, processed foods. We just eat a lot of it because there's something about the texture, like the sodium, the MSG, that makes us more likely to binge on it. You know, and that's part of the reason why whole foods are so good for you for everything, actually, but especially when you're trying to lose weight, because it doesn't mess with your dopamine levels as much, and you feel fuller, you know, from them.
Yeah. I think I was watching a documentary about processed foods. I forget which one it was. It was on Netflix a few, like 6 or 7 years ago. But there was this theory in the podcast or in the documentary that the reason that we're so obese nowadays is because our brains are not developed to enjoy good tasting food. Because if you think about the evolution of food, like most food didn't really start tasting good until like maybe 100 years ago. Before that, everyone just had to boil everything, or like they don't know how to season stuff very well. Like most people in the world, if you weren't royalty, ate like, I don't know, like rice,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
like
Porridge.
that, like porridge. Like people
Bread.
didn't eat good food.
Yeah.
And so with the invention of processed foods where they can mass produce delicious, sugary foods, like of course the body's going to be like, this is great. Like I want more of this and more
Right.
of this. So it's not adapted. We're not meant to be eating those foods that
Right.
taste so good. And that's why we want it so much, which is kind of an interesting thought. I'm like, I
Yeah.
guess like 100 years ago, like they didn't eat very healthy. Well, like they probably ate healthy, but they didn't eat good
Yeah.
tasting foods. Like
Right,
the
right.
idea of fine dining probably didn't exist to
Did not
anybody.
exist, no.
That is a very modern concept.
Yeah. And not only that, like since the food in society has changed so much, the bacteria in our gut
Oh,
has changed
100%.
so much.
Right.
100%.
And since the gut is like the second brain, then there's also a lot of mental health issues now. I think it's partly because of the food.
It is a lot.
think it's
There's
hugely
a lot
because of
of
food.
Yeah, yeah.
interesting research about depression nowadays that the
all linked
gut,
to
the gut is
the
very
food.
linked to it because
The
all the
evolution of
serotonin
humanities, yeah.
is mostly in your gut.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that someone who's trying to lose weight, one thing you should definitely look at is drinking your calories. That is like such an easy thing to shift,
Oh yeah.
right? Like even if you're just drinking a soda, you're not even thirsty or hungry, but you're just drinking it from habit.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Clarify what you mean by drinking calories. You mean like eliminating that?
Or like
Yeah.
trying to find a way to switch to something else.
to eliminate. Okay, drinking.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say like I would not recommend switching to drinking calories if you're trying to lose weight.
Dude, I was at the gym today and I was running, and this dude pulls up next to me, and he starts walking on the treadmill, and he has a Coke, man, like a regular Coke
While walking.
while walking, and I'm like, and then he got off the treadmill in like 10 minutes. I'm like, dude, you drink more calories than
Than
you
you
burned
just burned
by
off.
going on this treadmill.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that we see it everywhere. Like people just drink soda, like lots of soda, you know.
And the thing about
is
drinking is like you get full at a different rate than when you eat.
Absolutely.
So it just
Yeah.
goes right in, and you don't even feel it. But not just soda. There's like boba is such a huge trend. You can
Alcohol.
drink like
Alcohol.
500, 700 calories in just like a little boba thing.
Yeah.
That's like a full meal, dude.
And like a Coke is
They're
what?
drinking it for a snack.
A Coke is 36 grams of sugar, probably like
240 calories, 200
300
something calories.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I wanted to clarify what you meant by drinking calories. Because I was like, you don't want to drink your calories. You want to stop drinking.
You want to think about
calories.
what you're drinking. Yeah.
Think about what I think drinking calories is okay.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, think about what calories you're
what
getting from
calories
drinking.
you're
Because drinking protein shakes is probably fine.
Right.
That's if you're getting the ones that are like, low sugar,
Right.
high protein, obviously like that ratio. But if you're drinking something like, like sodas, like full sugar sodas, that's bad.
I think if you're drinking soda now, that's the easiest thing to cut out to start losing weight. The easiest thing.
Cut it out or switch to zero sugar.
Switch to diet.
Instant zero. Yeah.
Exactly.
Switching from a Coke to a Coke,
Coke
Zero.
Zero.
Or anything. Everything is zero now.
Honestly, just switch to
Right.
water. Like that's the best thing you can do.
I know.
honestly.
It's
sometimes
hard,
it's-
you know.
I drink a lot of diet soda sometimes, but
Yeah.
I mean, we've gone over this before, but just for the audience, if your deficit is 500 calories to yield 500 calories a day to yield 1 pound of body fat loss in a week, and you're drinking 2 Cokes a day, cutting out those 2 Cokes a day would get you at that deficit pretty much already, and that's just like immediate. Just switch to Diet Coke. Does not impact your life that much.
Yeah. And then you can probably start drinking black coffee.
Yeah, cut out sugar. Adding sugar to drinks is a huge L. Unless you use like what is it, stevia or any kind of 0-calorie sweetener. There's a lot of those. Like one I've been really into nowadays is monk fruit sweetener.
Oh yeah,
It's a keto sweetener.
I like
it's like
monk
5
fruit.
calories
Yeah.
or 10 calories. It's very sweet. Tastes
Very
like maple
sweet.
syrup. And I put it in my tea or put it in my yogurt and stuff. It's delicious too.
So this is a hack that I've been using, which I'm hesitant to share because it's not really
We can cut it out
the
if you-
healthiest. But let me just share with you guys. So I freaking love chocolate. Okay. So I get chocolate chips, but like Lily's chocolate chips, they use like erythritol as like one of the sweeteners with the cacao powder and stuff.
That's the stuff in monk fruit sweetener too.
Right. Like they mix it with monk fruit. Right?
Oh, okay.
But erythritol isn't well digested by 100% of the population. So for me, like it kind of makes my stomach, like I get a little like TMI, but like I get a little gassy. Like it kind of is an appetite suppressant for me. So if I eat like a handful of these things, one, it's delicious. Two, it decreases my appetite, mainly because the erythritol isn't like digested as well as how some other people would digest it, you know? And that goes back to the satiety and the hunger and everything like that, you know?
Yeah, I remember
we
seeing
talking?
studies about that. Erythritol actually that's the one thing to be careful of if you want to switch to monk fruit sweeteners. Some people react differently.
Right. Some people
that substance.
will take a handful of those chocolate chips, even a little bit of erythritol will make them have the runs, you know? Unfortunately, there was a recent study that came out where they linked erythritol to elevated cardiovascular risk.
Yeah, I saw that one, but
Yeah.
I think that was kind of a bad study because the amount of erythritol they were giving was way more than you would ever consume in like a
Good to
period
know.
of time.
Good to know.
But maybe I'm wrong. I could look into that study again. But I remember seeing that and I was like, okay, that's like an absurd amount of like, monk fruit sweetener you'd have to drink to get that amount.
So far, what we've covered is that know how much protein you need to take in daily, and that amount of protein probably makes up a lot of your calories already, right? And then by the end of the day, you just want to fill up to the amount of calories with whatever else.
Right. Agree. Yeah. That's how I live my life pretty much. I take in as much protein as I need, and then I'll backfill the rest of my calories.
Yeah.
So, and I like to, have dim sum with you guys and Korean barbecue and hot pot, and I save up my calories for that.
Yeah.
I think I saw an Alex Hormozy video where he's like, I'll just eat the amount of proteins I need, and then for the rest of the day, I'll just eat Twizzlers or something. But like, theoretically, you can just eat the amount of proteins you need, and then just eat whatever else as whole foods, as healthy as you can
Yeah,
possibly
obviously
go.
you always want to shoot for whole foods if possible.
But
avoid
it has
processed
to
foods.
do with calories at the end.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I would really like to know like how if we look at 700 calories and like a healthy whole food Mediterranean diet, you know, like lentils, chicken breast, like all that stuff, like nuts and fruits and vegetables, what that looks like compared to like 3 Cokes, because that's what it is, you know, like 3
The amount of calories.
The amount of if we look at volume of food, 700 calories worth of whole food, 700 calories worth of like soda,
Processed, yeah.
or processed foods for that matter, I'm willing to bet that
It would be
Whole
harder
Foods-
to eat that in food.
right, like the Whole Foods pile is going to be like this big, and then like
Yeah.
the processed food pile is going to be like this big, you know. And
Right.
that goes to there's something called volume eating, which is where like you eat a high volume of low calorie foods for satiety, and that's how you sort of get through achieve your caloric deficit, you know.
Right. As long as you don't get sick of the food, I think that's a good strategy, actually. If you like to, like, 'cause I'm someone, I think we all have like different eating styles. I think people have different, like, some people like to eat like 3 meals a day.
Right.
Some people just have to snack all throughout the day. There's this like popular term now going on the internet called almond moms. Have you ever heard that before?
That sounds so funny.
Our mom is an almond mom.
What does that mean?
Basically, it's just like these are these like I think they're usually women, but they're
mom, so
they're people. You can be like an almond dad, I guess. Or
Okay,
something like
sure.
that. But basically,
What is it?
basically what it is these people who would say like, "Oh, I'm so hungry," and then they'll take like a nibble of like a few almonds and then be like, "Oh, I'm full, I'm full," you know.
yeah, that's mom.
That's definitely our
definitely
mom,
mom.
100%. But she actually, if you actually go down and see what she does, she eats like a few almonds and then she's full.
nothing.
So there are people like that who just like
Yeah.
normally just don't get hungry or something like that.
So it's just like a very titrated ghrelin leptin balance.
Yeah, I mean, I
She
guess
just
they
tips over.
just have something.
Very
Because like there is
attuned.
that thirst quenching mechanism in the back of your mouth, right? Like if you're really thirsty and you just put something cold, like ice chips back there, then it helps quench your thirst.
Yeah,
It's probably
That
kind of
makes
like that.
sense.
that's what they do for patients in surgery who
Yeah.
can't drink anything.
Can't
NPO,
drink.
yeah.
Just give them
Yeah,
ice
if they're
chips.
thirsty, just give them ice chips.
But anyways, going back to the point of like different eating styles. For people who just like to snack a lot, like that's me. Like I need to snack all throughout the day. Like if you just give me like a whole bunch, if you give me like a box of almonds and celery,
Yeah.
I'll be
It will
fine.
disappear.
It'll disappear, but at least that's such a low calorie
Right.
food that
Well,
I'll
almonds.
survive.
Almonds are kind of high calorie.
Maybe not almonds, but like, I feel
Having a
like
crunch.
That's what I've been doing, man. I just
but like
been snacking
celery,
on Catalina
celery,
Crunch.
or I guess
Yeah.
that too, or like carrot sticks or something like that. I'll go to town on those and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
You brought up a point about volume though.
Mm.
And I think a very easy strategy to do to cut down on your calories is just to get smaller plates, smaller bowls. Right?
Absolutely.
And I think that in America, all the portions are humongous.
Humongous, man. Humongous. Yeah, and I'm an N of 1, but I've tried this on myself. Like I've gotten in Costco, they got 2 plate sizes, 2 paper plate sizes. They got the big Dixie plates and the little Dixie plates. I bought the little ones, and I felt like it was definitely helping with my like just like the psychology of maintaining a calorie deficit, feeling as though I ate enough, you know? Like, because if you see a big plate with lots of space on there, you're gonna be like, what is this? It's like
wanna
fine
fill it up,
dining or
right?
something. What?
Yeah, you just want to fill it up.
Exactly.
It's psychology.
Just like you were talking about the yogurt land thing.
Oh yeah, the yogurt land. So like yogurt land used to have a bunch of different sizes, but then a lot of people were going for the small bowls, and so over time they ran out of smalls and they only had larges.
Right.
And so Yogurtland found that everyone who was getting large was just filling it up because it looked weird to not have your bowl full.
Right.
So over time, they just got rid of all the smalls altogether. They don't even have smalls in Yogurtland anymore.
Right.
And that's how they make like the extra cash,
Yeah, so
which
the,
is crazy. That's like plain
That is
psychology
crazy.
on all of us.
So what we're saying is that there are ways to trick the brain to eat less, which is just get smaller plates,
Smaller
or at
plates.
least
And it has nothing to do with hunger.
has nothing to do with hunger.
Yeah.
It's just your OCD tendency to want to fill out your plate.
You just want to maximizing the value that you get out of everything.
Yeah. Something that's interesting that some restaurants do. I know that too. Like some of the like finer dining ones, they will use silverware or like bowls and stuff that are weirdly shaped. So it looks like there's more food in them, but there's actually not. Like I think soup is a big one. I went to this pho spot like a month ago or something, and they gave us these like really big looking bowls, but they weren't very deep, and there was like a lot of like ceramic on the sides of them, so it looked like it was really big, but there wasn't that much in it.
Right.
I saw that.
But it's still like when they brought the bowl up to me and put it down, I was like, oh man, this is so much food. This is gonna be great, you know? But it was.
I saw that at CPK. If you get soup there, it's like a tiny bowl.
Yeah.
But then the plate is humongous.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I
gosh.
think I think it's kind of a good strategy too. And maybe you're tricking your brain to think that you're going to eat a lot, but you actually just don't. I don't know. That could be that could be a strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess since we're talking about hacks, we'll talk about actual hunger hacks, which is that hunger pangs when you feel really hungry, when you feel as though like, man, I could really eat a burger right now or whatever. Hunger pangs are temporary. So if you stick it out, if you wait like 20, 30 minutes, that hunger pang or the intensity of that hunger pang will decline. So if you could drink a bottle of water or like chew some gum, oftentimes that'll get you through it. Having said that, don't have too much of a calorie deficit. By no means do I recommend anorexia. But this is for someone who is, who has a healthy calorie deficit and you have a hunger pang. Just stick it out, or that might be a sign that you have to increase your calories. Because we want to be consistent and we want to maintain consistency, because consistency more than anything will lead to weight loss.
Right.
Especially if you're only losing 1% of your weight a week.
Right.
You gotta go for months before you can see some difference, right?
Right. Yeah.
I have something to add to that hunger pangs thing, which could also be like a buff to that that hack, which is if you start feeling hunger pangs, one thing you can actually do is to get some physical movement into your body, because what that does is activate your sympathetic nervous system. And if you think about the fight or flight response, the sympathetic response is actually going to shunt blood and resources away from your gut and towards your muscles. And so it's going to make you feel less hungry, because what you want to do is you need to run away from a bear or something.
Right.
So if you start like working out, you're actually going to feel less hungry.
Right.
Or if you just start go running or something like that, you're going to feel less hungry because your body is shifting resources away from digesting, which is what you want to be hungry.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. I do find, so I lately I've been getting all my workouts in the morning, and I do find that it makes hunger and just morning fasting, because right now I'm doing intermittent fasting, it just makes it so much easier because your exercise
while you're working, you're not hungry.
Right. Exercise makes you less hungry in the immediate time afterwards. It increases your metabolism, but it also makes you more sensitive to internal signals of being full. So you're less likely to overeat when you're active and you're consistently exercising.
Are you fasting right now?
Right now, no. I had a meal right before coming here.
Yeah, intermittent fasting was so helpful during training or during medical training. Like,
yeah,
you can just eat once a day sometimes. You really had to.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that again goes back to the nervous system I'm talking about. Like when you're not eating, your body is in a constant state of sympathetic activation, and it's like shunting away from glycogen storage. So you're burning fat and burning like your glycogen stores to keep you active and keep your mind alert. That's why you don't get food comas if you're not eating. You can't get a food coma if you haven't eaten anything.
I know a lot of people fast for podcasts too, because it gives them more alertness and more focus.
Right.
We should probably try, or I should probably try that.
Are you feeling tired? I don't know.
Well, I just ate right before this.
Yeah,
so
same. We just ate.
I'm wondering if I could be a little sharper if I hadn't eaten.
Yeah.
Or
maybe
my stomach would
next
just growl
podcast
so
we'll try it
loudly
out.
and just-
Yeah. That's why that was one tip also in med school, like that some of the upper class, or even teachers said, like before our exam, don't eat a big meal. Just have like a light breakfast or something. Because if you do, you're going to feel sleepy. You're not going to be able to concentrate and focus on critical thinking.
I just wanted to say real quick. So the 1 meal a day thing, although is convenient, I would probably try to get your protein in more than 1 meal a day, because basically what prompts your body to build or maintain muscle is a specific amino acid. I think it's leucine.
leucine.
Leucine, yeah. So if you're getting all of your protein in at once, you're only getting one spike. You're getting one signal to like maintain your muscle. And also there's debate as to how many grams of protein you can actually absorb at a time. So for me, I try to get it in at least 2 meals, just to have two separate spikes of leucine, 2 separate anabolic spikes, and also to try to divide up my protein a little bit throughout the day.
Yeah.
Do you know what that number is that you can absorb?
I
The
think
absorption rate. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
I was just wondering.
I think that it's honestly changed for throughout the years, because they used to say 30 grams and then they were saying it doesn't matter. So I think just play it on the safe side. Do 2 to 3 meals a day. Not 2 to 3 meals doesn't mean you can't intermittently fast. Like you could still do IF. You'll just make that part of your feeding window that much easier.
So I've been drinking my 30 grams of protein shake after I eat a meal. I should probably not
should
do
wait.
that. I
Yeah.
should wait, huh?
You should wait. I don't know why you do that.
I don't know. I just didn't want to forget about it.
Yeah.
Because that was a big realization for me. Is when I was trying to put on more muscle. I just realized I just wasn't taking enough protein.
Right.
And those protein shakes are just such an easy way to do it.
You got to space it out. That's
Yeah.
kind of why I think snacking can work for some people if you just
Right.
like you're slowly getting it throughout the day. So even if you do like drink protein shakes, I don't know if it does a big difference, but just drink it slower. Drink half of it in the first hour, and then wait an hour, and then drink the rest of it. Just to like really maximize on your body's ability to absorb nutrients.
There's also something to be said about types of protein. So, like, for example, in general, whey protein is fast absorbing. So if you drink 30 grams of whey protein powder, that's going to absorb quickly. But if you drink 30 grams of casein powder or casein protein, that's going to take hours and hours to digest. So, for example, the protein shakes we drink, the Fairlife ones, that's actually a 20 to 80% split. So I looked this up. It's 20% whey, 80% casein.
Because it's milk protein.
Because it's milk protein, right? It's like hyper filtered milk protein. So it's actually pretty good for just like a slow, steady release of protein, which is another reason why I like that brand.
So don't chug them. Another reason not to chug
I
them.
just want to be clear too, is like people often think about protein shakes as being only used by like bodybuilders, but that's not the case, right?
No.
Anyone can drink a protein shake.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's like something that's very prescribed to elderly folks, like insurers. Like it's just protein,
Yeah.
calories.
They even have Ensure high proteins now. I saw that the other day.
Yeah. But just for the general audience, anyone, like you should use protein shakes to supplement your meals.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's better to, if you can eat actual chicken, or whole foods and
Right.
whatever, then great.
Yeah.
But like if you're not getting your protein in, or if it's too inconvenient for you, then sure, why not? Protein shakes are fine. Some are better than others, but some are really healthy for you.
Yeah. I think that's the main question though, is convenience for you. Because obviously if we had, 8 hours a day to just sit down and eat slowly and
Right.
cook all these meals and eat them, then it would be great to eat all your protein in your food that way. But for the reality of most adults or even students, like we have to study, we have to
Right.
go to work, we have to take care of our patients and stuff.
Absolutely.
Like you don't have the convenience of eating a chicken wing while you're giving a lecture or something
a
like that.
fillet in a
You
microwave,
can't
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Dude, my fridge is all about convenience.
I've seen your fridge.
No, but even more so now, because I've really been trying to eat more like bulk food, like actual like food and stuff, because when you were visiting me at Cedars, or when I was an intern, a resident intern in medicine, my fridge was all protein shakes and my cabinet was all protein bars. Shout out to Robert Irvine, protein bars. But no, I'm just kidding. But nowadays my fridge is mostly like chicken and veggies and stuff, but it's already cooked. Like I don't have
Right.
to like cook them. Like those we're talking about, those 24 gram protein, 140 calorie already cooked chicken breast packs from Costco.
Oh, you just air fry them?
Not, dude. Honestly,
We've been eating those.
I know. You put it in the air fryer, right? Or
you could just
No,
air
they-
fry
they're
them,
just
but
pre-cooked.
oh, okay, yeah, no, but like
But-
just make them hot.
It's
That's
from
what I'm
Costco.
asking.
But like, so when we can get into this, because we'll probably talk about keto and intermittent fasting and the best way to break a fast. But I'll just say this now. My favorite way to break a fast is put in my bone broth protein powder into a cup, boil my water, put in one of those chicken breast packs, and then pour that water in,
soup.
and I break a fast that way. It's like, it took me 30 seconds to do. It's 200 calories and 35 grams of protein, and it's going to make me less apt to have a huge meal when I'm super hungry. You know?
But you put protein powder in a bone broth?
No, not protein powder, bone broth powder. Bone broth powder.
Okay. We have the bone broth
Yeah.
juice.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I heard you say bone broth and protein powder. I was like, that sounds absolutely
much, man.
disgusting. That sounds disgusting.
I used to have a roommate in college who would just eat whey protein powder. And then he would like choke on it and
just,
just
like,
cough and it would like come
just
out of
raw-
his mouth. I'm
You
like,
just
dude.
raw dog it, just like right in.
Right. If we're talking about caloric restrictions, all of these really popularized diets are different ways of achieving that caloric restriction. So the trick is to pick one that works best for your lifestyle, for your psychology. So for example, keto is high fat, high protein, or moderate fat, high protein, low carbohydrate. And the reason why that works is because fats make you full. Fats are satiating. So you're less likely to eat as many calories on keto because you stop when you're full and, hopefully you maintain a caloric deficit. In intermittent fasting, you restrict your feeding windows. And the thought is if you can restrict your feeding window to a certain amount of time, like 6 to 8 hours during the day, that you would eat less during that feeding window as compared to if you just ate throughout the day. And lastly, the moderate, the high protein, moderate carbohydrate, low fat diet works because hopefully you'd be eating wholesome foods like, vegetables, fish, nuts, legumes, stuff like that, such that these whole foods, they're just satiating, they make you fuller, and that would hopefully lead to a caloric deficit as well.
I like that breakdown. And that's what I tell patients too. Like there are a lot of trendy diets out there, and there's always probably new diets coming in every day or whatever. But the point is that every diet, you're just reducing calories in one of the 3 areas or one of the 4 areas.
Right.
But at the end of the day, the diet that matters the most is just the diet that fits with your lifestyle. It's just the diet that you can stick with the longest.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what diet you choose. Choose the one
100%.
that fits your life.
Right. 100%. Agree. Keto is a diet where you try to minimize your carbohydrate intake to the point where your body produces ketones, and ketones are directly derived from adipose tissue, your fat storage. So the thought is by decreasing your carbohydrates, you're going to be burning fat, not just because of feeling full from the fats that you're eating, but also because the actual biochemical process of ketogenesis burns fat. And your body has to do that because your brain can only run on ketones or glucose pretty much. So I've done keto in the past. I've lost 75 pounds on keto in the past, actually. Yeah.
Dang.
And
In what period of time?
it took a couple years. Yeah.
You were on keto for a couple of years?
I was on and off. So I'd like go on keto, lose like 20 pounds, 30 pounds, and then go off of it, go on it, go off of it,
Yeah, I thought people use keto for like weight loss sprints, but apparently you can stay on keto for a long time.
Yeah, you can. And also, like you said, Maddie, like it's been shown to affect, like sort of psychiatric diagnoses. Autism, I know autism is one of them,
Like keto is helpful for? You're saying? Okay.
Yeah, there's some efficacy for depression, anxiety as well.
Yeah.
I wonder if it has to do with gut bacteria.
100% has to do with gut bacteria.
Yeah, I think
100%.
it does.
Gotcha.
So keto, with any of these diets, you're going to want to figure out a system that works for you, something that you'll be able to implement and not put too much thought into, such that you can just get your food ready and eat it throughout the week. Because if you're a busy mom, you're a busy student or medical student or whatever, the last thing you want to do is, like you said, chop up some onions, throw them in the fryer. You want to either prep your food or you want to have food that's ready to go, or you're going to want easily preparable food. And I think you could probably speak to that since you guys have been meal prepping, but in keto, you want to decrease the amount of carbohydrates you take. It'll take a couple weeks for your body to learn how to start producing ketones, to learn how to start metabolizing ketones. And what you would expect during that time is something called the keto fog. And that is where your body is just really getting used to learning how to operate without carbohydrates. So you'll be tired. You'll feel as though some people feel sick. You'll have decreased mental clarity. But if you can get past that, your energy levels and your mental clarity should return. And just as an aside, once you've gone into ketogenesis, and let's say you go off of keto, it's easier for your body to go back into keto if you decide to go back into it later, or if you screw up or drop the ball or whatever. For me, I've been in keto before, and I started doing keto again briefly during this cut, and it only took me 2 days to get back into keto, confirmed by the keto glucometer thing that I have. Apart from the getting your proteins in and decreasing your carbs, is make sure that you're still eating healthy foods. You can't do keto and just eat freaking keto chocolate chip cookies all day and hamburger meat only. You should be trying to eat some nuts, eat some avocados, get your lean protein in as well as your fatty protein in. Just because you're on this diet it's not an excuse to eat like poorly. Yeah,
there's a lot of like processed, commercialized keto products out there, right?
Absolutely, yeah. One of them is the keto ice cream. What's it called? Rebel ice cream has a ton of calories in it. So I'm the type of guy who I don't eat half pints of ice cream. Like I eat full pints of ice cream, partly because of my OCD. Like I was just like, oh well, like I don't want to contaminate this spoon.
Right, might as well just finish it.
Exactly, yeah.
Take up space.
But yeah, a pint of Rebel keto ice cream is like 700-800. It's like 700 calories.
Right, and that kind of just goes back to the whole point at the beginning that it's still about calories in, calories out. It's still about that 500 calorie deficit, regardless of keto or regardless of what diet you're on.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll say about intermittent fasting is break your fast with a small meal, like 200-300 calories, which is which is my favorite way to break a fast. Was what I told you guys with the bone broth and the chicken, the prepackaged chicken.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Why do you do that, or why do you have to do that? Is there?
Yeah, it's because when you're ending a fast, you're so hungry. Like when I'm ending a fast, and especially if I worked out, like if I ran a long time, and I go to a Korean barbecue place, I pity the owners of this Korean barbecue place because I'm about to go ham and eat 3,000 calories worth of Korean barbecue. But if I broke my fast with a smaller 200 calorie meal, with protein, with some fat in it, I'm going to be less hungry an hour later when I finally decide to sit down and eat,
Oh, okay.
So it's almost like tempering your satiety system and preventing yourself from going overboard. Yeah.
Okay.
So just for context, before giving up alcohol for Lent, I was running 10K a day, lifting every day, eating in a caloric deficit, 500 calories to 1,000, taking into account alcohol calories, and I wasn't losing weight. And I was just like, what in the world is going on? And the missing key was alcohol, and alcohol prevents fat loss on many different levels. So I guess we could go through those levels. So the first reason why alcohol prevents fat loss is because alcohol is literally so toxic to your body that your body prioritizes getting rid of alcohol. So whatever calories are in your system or whatever calories you end up eating while alcohol is still in your system gets immediately converted to fat. So, if we are drinking and then we go and get a pizza and I eat 3 slices of pizza, that's all getting converted to fat. So that's one reason.
So it doesn't matter how healthy of a meal.
No.
If I have a salad,
I mean, there's no, there's
salad
very
gets
little
converted to
calories.
fat.
it can happen.
So the dressing in the salad is probably going to get converted to fat.
Gotcha.
But the actual foliage will probably pass right through you.
You'll just poop it out.
The foliage. That's crazy though. So just adding alcohol to any meal is going to wreck that meal.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're going to just be storing storing fat. So that's one reason. The second reason is because when you drink alcohol, you are more likely to binge on food, just because the part of your brain that's responsible for delayed gratification, the part of your brain that's responsible for planning, the part of your brain that's telling you, hey, I gotta be in a caloric deficit, that part of your brain gets turned off when alcohol is in your system. So you're more likely to make poor food choices. As a follow-up to that, another reason why alcohol is bad for weight loss is because you just have less self-control. So you're more likely to overeat, and your sensitivity to internal signals that you're full is also suppressed. So whereas I would normally say, hey, push this plate away, I'm full, I'm okay, I'm more likely to just finish that plate because I don't sense that I'm full yet when I'm drinking. On a very high level, on a biochemical level, the metabolism of alcohol basically decreases the amount of these certain molecules in your cells that are needed to burn fat, and it increases molecules that are used to store fat. So there's from multiple levels, you're just promoting fat storage when you're drinking. And lastly, alcohol decreases the amount of circulating testosterone in your body. Testosterone in general is gonna help you build muscle, maintain muscle, and decrease the amount of your body fat composition. So if you decrease testosterone, you're going to have increased amounts of body fat and decreased amounts of muscle. And as a shoot off from that, muscle burns calories. So you're getting hit twice because essentially, if you have less muscle, your basal metabolic rate is going to go down as well. And those are the reasons that come to mind, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying if we want to drink alcohol, just don't drink it while we're eating.
Correct. But it's a double-edged sword, right? Because then if you look at the amount of alcohol that is absorbed into your system, it is halved with food. So you're going to get drunker faster, So it's tough because you have what you get, you take, is pluses and minuses.
Mm-hmm. I feel like when I'm drinking alcohol with a meal, it makes the food taste better, but it only makes the food taste better in the beginning. And then afterwards, it just...
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like it doesn't make the food taste better even at the beginning. It just makes the food taste worse. To me, I think it just makes it taste worse. I feel like I can't taste
What
the
are you
food.
drinking?
Yeah.
But I'm drinking like a beer or like a wine or something. I feel like I can't
taste it.
I feel like I can't taste the food as well.
Okay.
I mean, that's a good point because alcohol is toxic to your taste buds, so it decreases the sensitivity of your taste buds also. Oh, and another aside is that alcohol makes you seek out sucrose more, which is also not good for your diet.
Yeah, maybe I should be like, I feel like a Taco Tuesday is like a common beer and tacos thing.
Yeah,
I can house tacos. Like I know that I'm eating a lot and I'm enjoying eating them, but I don't know what they taste like. I'm just like eating because I just want to eat.
Why are you still eating them?
Well, I don't know. It's just like you're talking about. It's like that. It's just that primal response. You want to eat more food.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I don't think I remember actually what they even taste like.
Yeah.
Our dad, he used to be a cigarette smoker. And he said that the way that he destroyed that habit was that he replaced the cigarette with peanuts. So whenever he wanted to smoke, he would just replace it with a peanut. He eat peanuts instead. So he replaced that habit.
No, I'll speak to that, man. Like I used to be a smoker, and I used to, after I smoked, I replaced that with smokeless tobacco, which is also not good for you. And we could have
like
another
vapes or like e-cigarettes or
no, like chewing tobacco and stuff. And then, but we can have a separate episode about this. But nowadays they have basically nicotine salt packets, which is just like hyper refined, just nicotine salt. So it's nicotine. Like way better for you. But anyhow, when I quit nicotine, period, I did need something to like chew on, or like I would chew on like sunflower seeds or like gum. I needed something because just like all of our habits, it's just so ingrained in like our psyche, you know, like we associate this with this and this with that, you know.
I associate having dessert after a meal,
Yep.
or I associate eating popcorn when watching a movie. It's like the same. All these habit things are the same.
Right. Right.
We talked a lot about weight loss in this episode for, at the beginning at least, for like aesthetics, or for like looking shredded. We're talking about like body fat percentage and all that stuff. But why else should people consider losing weight? Like what other, obviously we know there's a lot of health benefits to it, but like why else, if someone was going to make this identity change, what else could they convince themselves with that this is going to be a good decision to stick to it?
I don't know if we want to go there. I was going to say losing weight reinforces your self-confidence, reinforces your self-image, self-esteem. But I think in society right now, there's a lot of body positivity.
Yeah.
And there's a difficult balance there. But as physicians who think about patients' health first, I am not always for the healthiness of a body positivity movement. I still think losing weight is healthy.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I'm sure we could pull up a map, right, of obesity in the United States, and it's a problem that is exponentially getting worse. And it has very little, if anything at all, to do with laziness or people's psyche, and more so to do with socioeconomic status, the ease of getting your hands on poor quality foods, you know. So it's a problem that America needs to address. But if we're thinking about just for yourself, like I know for me, like there's something very empowering about making a plan and affecting positive change in yourself. And that speaks to your point. It's just from a psychological standpoint, you feel healthier, you feel empowered, you know, and physically you feel better too. And those are the main things that come to mind.
Yeah, weight is huge. Weight is a huge trigger for self-improvement, for that self-improvement life that we always talk about. You know, weight, relationships, finances,
Right.
just take your pick. But weight is huge. Like you can, like you said, you set a plan and then you're able to achieve that plan. That just reinforces self-confidence.
Yeah.
Like you believe in yourself. That is such a huge mindset shift.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess from my end too, like when I eat well, I just feel, even like you said, physically, my body just feels better.
Yeah.
I have more mental clarity.
Right.
It's easier to sleep. I don't feel like as much indigestion and all these things. Like there's just like,
Yeah.
there are a lot of compounding effects in your confidence as well, that just, it makes the rest of your life just run smoother. I don't know how else to say it. Like your body just runs more smoothly.
I think you hit the nail on the head with compounding effects. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie yet, but if you've seen The Whale with Brandon
I
Fraser,
haven't seen it yet. It's on my list.
dude, it is it's like heartbreaking. And to think that that's where a majority of America is headed is truly staggering. But the movie basically follows this very large guy's life for like days, and it's just very difficult to watch. But I do want to bring up one last point for the audience, which is if you're going to start your weight loss journey, don't just go by the scale, because chances are if you're really overweight, yes, the weight's going to just drop off. Like even if you're eating in a 500 calorie deficit, you weigh 300 pounds, the weight's just going to drop off. But if you're like the majority of Americans, maybe you're around 20% body fat, you don't really hit the gym that much, and you start hitting the gym and you start like getting your diet together and the scale's not changing, that's okay. Because chances are you're probably putting on some muscle. Muscle weighs more than fat. And chances are you'll probably start seeing some changes in the mirror. So take progress pictures, get like a measure, like a tape measure thing, measure your waist, measure your chest, measure your arms and all that stuff, and take it from there. And just know that it's not a sprint. It is truly, you're in this for the long run, not just for, not just for weight loss, but like for your life. Like, yes, you could lose weight, but you want to keep it off. And studies have shown that the longer it takes to lose that weight in a healthy way, you're more likely to keep it off. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for coming back, Dr. Jon Go. Always a pleasure.
It really is. Yeah.
As always, we'll link any science that we butchered in the show notes if we can find it. And we'll see you all next time.
Lately, memories are fresh on my mind.